All right, so we have we're gonna go on to the Gantonnet Rouge next, right?
That's right.
So why don't you talk a little bit about the blend in here? As most Bordeaux's, it's a blend.
Absolutely. So it's the main production at the estate is red, of course. It's being in the Entre-deux-Mers. It's primarily Merlot, and there's also a bit of Cabernet, Cabernet Sauvignon, and a tiny bit of Cabernet Franc, but it's dominated by Merlot.
All right, so I'll give you a quick bottle shot here. So is this about the same price range or similar?
Yes, it's exactly the same price. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
And in the U.S., there's, for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is we label our wines mostly by the variety. There's a big debate, well, as much as there is a debate, about Merlot versus Cabernet. Is that same kind of debate or discussion go on in France? Are there people who definitely won't drink right bank wines or only drink left bank wines or stuff like that? Is that as prevalent as you might find in the US?
I wouldn't think so, no. Because as you rightly mentioned, we don't tend to put the blends on the labels, even for Bordeaux, so regional wine like Chateau Gantonnet. So no, I wouldn't think so. There is the debate is more within the producers, very very clearly with the change of climate, which is totally undeniable. The Cabernet, particularly the Cabernet Sauvignon, tend to ripen much better than it used to. So after a significant plantation of Merlot in, let's say, maybe 20 years ago, I think there is a revival of Cabernet, and particularly Cabernet Sauvignon, as it ripens better and better. We see it particularly, for example, here in this property. I am in the Haut-Médoc, so I am on the other side of the river now, and this is Cabernet land, and we see that in all the last vintages, or most of the last vintages, we've had great maturity on Cabernet Sauvignon. So it's but there's no I don't think there is a debate here about I'm a Merlot drinker or I'm a Cabernet drinker.
So speaking of climate change, my understanding is that in France, most wine regions in France, the varieties that are planted there are at pretty much the northernmost limit of where those varieties can ripen, or
yes,
historically. So you take Champagne, that's one of the most northern wine regions in the world, and one of the reasons they make Champagne is because it's so high in acidity, because it doesn't really fully ripen the way it might in Burgundy or in other places. But now with climate change, it seems, I know, particularly in Champagne, they're getting more and more what they call classic or great vintages because they're not as worried about the weather. It's a little bit warmer. Is that the case in Bordeaux as well, or are they seeing more adverse effects to climate change, at least in the short term?
I think I'm as you well know, Jeff, I'm less a Bordeaux expert than I would consider myself much more knowledgeable on the Rhone side. But here I would say what always makes me a bit laugh is I'm not talking about this type of very approachable wines like Chateau Gantonnet, but more on the Premier Grand Cru Classé. Seems to be like the vintage of the century is now every other year, if not every year. So I would say largely, for now anyway, the just adjustment on the viticultural practices has been enough to adjust and to, as I was explaining, for example, on the ripeness of Cabernet, for example, that has been a big benefit for now anyway. How it evolves in the in the decades to come, it remains to be seen.
Right. I mean,
there's been some experiments here here in the Bordeaux area of planting Grenache, for example, as experiments. Absolutely.
Because it does how is that?
Yeah, but also maybe, you know, if if you allow me a comparison with the Rhone, if I look at the blend of Châteauneuf-du-Pape that we have at Château-Lanert, one of the very small, in percentage term, very uh, secondary grape is Counoise, which is a late ripening, high in acidity, that low in alcohol. It can get a bit green if it's not ripe perfectly. Here, there's a grape that well, now is almost only associated with Chile, which is Carmenère, which of course is originated from here. With the weather, Carmenère is a very marginal blending grape in only a small part of Bordeaux. But who knows? You know, if the climate continues to change, maybe very much like Counoise for us back in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, Carmenère or other grapes that I don't know could well become more important. Like obviously Petit Verdot, for example, which also plays a role like this today.
Well, so this is and again, this is a lovely wine.
Yes.
I wouldn't confuse it with a big tannic monster that you need to put down for 20 years before you even think about opening it. But you know, tonight with our grilled sausages, or tonight we're it's Tuesday, so in our house Tuesday means tacos, so we're having beef tacos tonight. So almost a
perfect. You can have the white just to start, and then the red with a beef taco should work very well.
Lovely, a little smoky. So this sees a little bit of oak, I would imagine.
Just a tiny bit. We've reduced that now, and it's almost we have it's a bit like for the white. We have just a few barrels.
Oh, but it's lovely. I mean,
yeah,
for $15, $16, I don't think you could do a whole lot worse than that.
That's exactly the idea with this with the Chateau Gontonnet wine.
But it's it's not. You open one, and if you finish it, great. If you don't, no, that's okay. But I mean, this is one that we would definitely finish. This is a really lovely.
Good.
A lot of fruit, but it's not overly fruity. There's plenty of acidity to hold up to pretty much any kind of food. I mean, I think you could even do this with even some fish dishes. If you are strictly red wine drinker, throw some salmon on the grill. I think
yes,
go really nicely with some salmon. And
no, back when the restaurants were open and doing business, this was a wine that was very popular with our restaurateur friends, because it's also a great red for people that want to have a glass of red before dinner.
Right.
I think it works very well because the tannins are very smooth. It's very enjoyable and very approachable. So it's
it has really bright acidity, so it really
yes.
Sparks your appetite, gets those saliva glands going, and makes you hungry. And no, I think it's fabulous. And again, for the price range, I mean, it's really what I like to say is a no-brainer. I mean, that's just an easy to wine to have a few bottles always handy. So for a moment's notice, open it up.
Thank you.